Welcome to Cumberland Matters, the program where we bring what's happening in Cumberland County to you. In this edition, we are on location at one of the county's showpieces, the Historic Courthouse. The Cumberland County Historic Courthouse's distinctive style makes it stand out downtown. Historic Properties Manager Bruce Daws tells us about the interesting history of this former center of county government and law, now entering its 9th decade of service.
Well, actually, the Historic Courthouse for Cumberland County is number 6 in the history of Cumberland County. This courthouse served up until the time that we moved into our current courthouse. The first county seat was in Linden, and the courthouse was a log structure. And then there were several others, the most enduring courthouse being located at St. James Square, built in the late 1700s and served Cumberland County until 1894 when they moved to the 5th courthouse located at Gillespie and Russell Street. The 6th courthouse, this courthouse, is built in the neoclassical form and certainly speaks to the opulence of Cumberland County with its beautiful architecture. Two buildings really stand out in southern towns: bank buildings and courthouses. And the courthouse was the center of activity. In the courthouse today, we look at mostly trials and clerk of court functions, but actually most all of the county's functions took place in this courthouse, to include the 2 top stories which served as the Cumberland County Jail, and the basement which served as the headquarters for the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department. All other county offices residing within the walls of this historic courthouse. This is the Superior Court Judge's Chamber, where many famous trials took place. Adorning the walls are portraits of very famous people at Cumberland County's bar, people that made monumental pages in our early history. But over the Superior Court Judge's bench is the portrait of Neil Hector McGahey, a Cumberland County official, the longest serving sheriff of Cumberland County. He served continuously from 1910 to 1950 and was highly respected. He's the one that Carbine Williams turned himself into after killing Deputy Sheriff Al Pate. The portrait itself was commissioned by Carbine Williams and turned over to Cumberland County and promptly placed over the Superior Court Judge's bench. From 24 to 25, it was underway with construction, and it has a lot of the classic neoclassical detailing. There's probably only 2 other structures in Fayetteville that exhibit this style of architecture: the former post office that's now the Arts Council building, and the former bank building at Market House Square. This being the 3rd one, so it is a rare surviving example of that very elaborate form of architecture. It was dedicated in 1926, and there was a lot of pomp upon the opening of the courthouse. The commander at Fort Bragg, General Bowley, and other dignitaries turned out. One of the architects involved with this courthouse was a local architect, Stiles Dixon. The other architect was from Greensboro, so we do have a local hand in the building and designing of this structure. Right across from this courtroom is the Recorder's Court, which we know today as the District Court, and that's where all of the misdemeanor trials would take place and the probable cause hearings. Towards the end of its career, this courthouse was full on court day. It had really outgrown the size that was required to handle the amount of cases. So officers and court officials were working out of some very cramped spaces by the time we moved from here to the 7th courthouse across the street. Well, again, in the Superior Court Judge's Chamber, you'll see portraits of people that made history in Cumberland County at the local level, at the state level, and some at the national level. We have people that practiced law here that went on to be governor of North Carolina, or one of the portraits in here of Justice Taylor. He served at the local bar but became the first Supreme Court Justice. And so you have several very notable people. Out in the hallway, you'll see portraits of other early Cumberland County officials, to include some of the early county commissioners, pictures of the early recorder's court, which was the low court that took place here in the courthouse. One of the things that's very striking about this courthouse is the original chandeliers. Oftentimes, old courthouses will go through several evolutions as things are updated, lighting is updated, but these original brass chandeliers that are now exhibited in the courtroom were the original lighting fixtures for the courthouse. There was a big coal furnace down in the basement, and you can see where some of the vents are located in this room, where the old coal heat has stained the wood paneling, which again just speaks to that period in our history. Cumberland County has done very well in preserving this old courthouse. Oftentimes, older buildings are eliminated to make way for new buildings, and we lose a big part of our history. And this courtroom is used routinely for historic tours. Children come through here, adult tours come through here. They sit where the spectators sat, they sit in the jury box, they look around the room, they look at the portraits, they learn a little bit about Cumberland County's history, which couldn't be done in a better environment.